The major problem here in terms of DEI, I think, is that the assumption becomes if you get rid of all the people of color and the women, that regardless of who put them in those positions, that they're not qualified for them. No matter what test they took, if you're a woman or a person of color in a high position, that you've got to go because you for sure didn't meet the standards, which is not true. DEI is for recruiting. It's not for giving a lower standard to pass a test.
Yeah, I think the more that we talk about the protests that are happening outside, the less we're talking about the human rights violations that are occurring inside the building. The people who are inside the building are being denied access to their medications. They're only getting
We don't know
Tylenol.
that.
We absolutely do, because the sitting congressperson had to ask for a court order to get into the facility that he oversees. And then when he went in there, he saw that they were not being given access to their medications that they need, and that all the reports of worms in the food were true. And we also know that Trump just appointed the head of the GEO group to be the head of ICE. So that's crony capitalism at its finest. I feel like if we're going to talk about these people, 1 in 10 of whom, I'm sorry,
Madeline,
1 in 10 of whom are in custody right now, are here legally. They're just waiting on their court hearing, are being treated without human dignity.
So all I'm saying is if you had somebody else saying the exact same thing, would you make the same argument? Can you say that honestly? And can you be intellectually honest about that?
You're against all immigration?
No, of course not. And I'm not against H-1Bs either. What I'm against is pretending that you are somebody that you're not, pretending that you believe in something that you're not, trying to sell the American people on something and pretend like you were supporting it the entire time, and then putting you guys in a position to defend something that you definitely wouldn't defend if it were any other person.
You said you're America first. I just don't think that they're mutually exclusive. You can be America first and also recognize that there may be times you could import talent from other countries that makes America stronger. We've done that for decades.
Totally, but that's not Donald Trump's position.
It's literally what he just said.
Today.
There are plenty of reasons not to vote for Graham Plattner, but none of these scandals are one of them. And frankly, this is for the voters to decide.
What Caroline just said makes perfect sense to me, because if somebody on the Republican side had done what Graham Plattner did, Republicans would say, you know what, I'm willing to overlook it in order to move the MAGA movement forward. Democrats are supposed to be the ones that say, we're not willing to do that because we don't want people who have those kinds of values, who we don't trust to do the right thing when nobody's watching, to be the ones who are in power, who are making policy for innocent people. That's supposed to be a thing that Republicans are willing to overlook, not Democrats.
Well, to be fair, I don't have any Nazi tattoos.
I just want to make it clear that 73.6%, and that's actually a statistic that's been confirmed by 2 separate independent organizations, of the people that are currently in ICE detention have no criminal record. And in fact, according to the Texas statistics, actually less than 1% of illegal immigrants who are in this country, or illegal or undocumented, which is 2 different categories, have ever been arrested for a violent crime. So when she's saying that they're picking up all of these people who were criminals, that's not true. It's just wrong. And to characterize them all as violent is just wrong. And the reason that they would do that would be because it would make it easier for people to say, you know what, whatever human rights violations are occurring, we don't really care because they're all just criminals. We can just say goodbye to them because they don't matter. So I just want to encourage people to remember that that's not who we're attacking. By the way, we also have arrested 172 U.S. citizens.
I'd be curious to get into some of those statistics. Of course, Madeline, you're well versed in the statistics. I would love to know who those sources are with respect to coming out with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the Cato Institute and Trace. The Cato Institute and Trace looked at ICE data, and they got the same stat.
The thing is, I think, Madeline, I understand your pushback. However, this is in the best interest of not just the United States, but also our allies. And I think there's a lot of backdoor conversation. I think there's a lot of backdoor conversations happening in our best interest, not just for the U.S., but also our allies. What's wrong with that, Madeline?
None of them agree with you. Please don't pretend that you think the United States cares about anyone's sovereignty or independence when you're saying, no, I don't care what you want. I'm going to assert my will upon you. The largest mineral deposits in the world outside of China are in Greenland. So y'all tell me what you think is going on here.
Well, the thing is, we got to leave it there.
People thought that if someone even considered voting for Donald Trump, that they were lost to the Democratic Party, that there was just no way that they could possibly vote for a Democrat. And that was false. The point is that they just didn't know who they could trust. And also because they were able to split their ballots a lot, young people could codify the right to abortion in their state and then vote for Trump if they wanted to. The Democratic Party is always targeting that 1/3 of Americans who don't vote, rather than targeting the swing voter, which is what Donald Trump did, and that's what won him the election. If they're going to still target that 1/3 of Americans, they need to give an inspirational message. You can't just say, be scared of Trump. People who don't come out to vote already think their vote doesn't matter. You're not going to scare them into voting. No, and I think AOC's answer was perfect, which was, I don't think that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the appropriate person to be making policy for Jewish people, period. Right? And as a Jewish person, I take that very seriously. I've never trusted Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think that she and Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes are working together to pick up all the MAGA defectors. They've known this for some time, and that's their plan, and they're just not to be trusted.
That's 100% true.